Good evening and welcome to the April 16th, 2026 Town Council Budget Meeting. Just a reminder, exits are to the back of the room and to the side in emergency. And we will start with the pledge. Councilor Mills, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do a quick roll call this evening. Councilor Mills.
Good evening.
Councilor Webb.
Good evening.
Councilor Flood.
Good evening.
Councilor Foote.
Good evening.
Good evening from the chair, and Councilor Healy and Councilor Chase are unable to join us this evening, but have said they will both catch up, and if they have any questions for all of you, they'll let us know. All right, I am going to turn it over to Mr. Fowler, and we'll get things going.
All right, good evening. So welcome to night 2 of our fiscal 27 budget presentations. Tonight we have kind of cornucopia of different departments here. So with no further ado, we'll start out with the Community Development Department, Economic Development. Bev Donovan coming to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
I can. I don't
You're
know
good?
if everyone
Okay.
can.
Hi, my name is Bev Donovan, Derry Economic Development, for those at home. Always do this too quick. Tonight I'm just going to go over a few of the highlights from last year and then talk a little bit about some of the goals for the year ahead. So starting with 2026 highlights, long-awaited projects underway, completed, include the Abbott Court redevelopment, which is got a big hole in the ground right now. If you walk down Merchants Row, you can take a look at. The Common Man roadside is up and running. The Keystone project on Rockingham Road is the final buildings are being completed now, and a couple of them are already occupied. And Ashley Drive, which would complete the industrial park with the last parcel at the end of the cul-de-sac. Not announced yet, but there is negotiation going on there. Tracking status of about 150 different commercial properties and units. With the current rises in construction costs and access to capital, there are headwinds going into fiscal year 2027 for new projects. Multi-agency collaboration continues with the New Hampshire Small Business Development Center. This year we held a financing workshop. And several events with the Greater Derry Londonderry Chamber, participating in the State of the Union, legislative policy events, Cyborg Cares, statewide mixer. That's when all the statewide brokers come to Derry. It's a great event. The Regional Economic Development Center SEDS Committee, which is our Regional Transportation Plan and Economic Development Plan. And we actually just hosted them here yesterday at Cask and Vine and did a little tour downtown. So it was great having all those regional colleagues come and find out about Derry and learn about some of the things that we're doing here. Let's see. Continue to promote Derry as live, work, play destination through social media, Walk Score, partnerships with New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, in interaction with various media outlets and community events, strengthening workforce readiness with the Greater Derry Londonderry Chamber. This year, partnering on business education collaborative. We're piloting an interview contest which wrapped up today, and that is open to all high school students in the area. And then in May, we'll be hosting the second annual Teen Job Fair. Also, last year, I think we had over 400 students attend that. And this year, we have more companies that are coming in to hire our teens for summer jobs. So that's a great thing that we get to do with the Chamber. Let's see, collaborated on the economic development, legislative, and state of the state events, and continued discussions with post-secondary educational outlets for opportunities for those students that graduate without a plan but still want to get into the workforce a couple of years after they've left Pinkerton or Next or wherever they went to. Let's see, next page. All right. Also in 2026, continued partnership with the Greater Derry Arts Council to enhance the Opera House facility, to grow programming that benefits downtown economy, coordinated on several Public Arts Committee projects and events to drive cultural tourism, including this year we hosted the statewide Poetry Out Loud competition, which was a fun event. Continuous monitoring of key economic news and trends relative to banking, investment, commercial real estate, housing, supply chain, workforce, and demographic shifts to offer practical insight and recommendations on local economic development issues. Ongoing facilitation of business growth through various programming, network, and resource opportunities, including the facade improvement project. And Derry continues to see robust change of use activity, although there is a slowdown this year. We're a little bit off. And there is definitely some noticeable trepidation in startup initiatives. People are holding back a little bit on the startups. Projects on Ashley Drive and Scobie Pond Road and both A and B streets are expected to move forward and result in completion of both the Industrial Park and the Commerce Park areas. So that's pretty exciting. And then focus on FY27 will shift to 4A, redevelopment, downtown, and routes 28 and 111. So the main goals for 2027, get that up there. Continued identification of development and redevelopment potential in anticipation of Exit 4A completion, water and sewer expansion projects, public and private opportunities and stakeholder interest. Also enhance regional outreach to facilitate potential new projects and growth, work closely with brokers to identify potential opportunities for languishing properties, assist the planning board with zoning evaluation and provide insight into markets, demographics, and trends that could impact and influence commercial tax-based growth. And finally, identify and collaborate on local, regional, and state for federal grants and programs to assist businesses and investors in financing goals to help ensure pipeline momentum. So that's a quick snapshot, if anybody has any questions.
Any questions? Councilor?
Sorry. Just one, I noticed that in your budget lines, you don't have any, and I'm not going to be putting anything in, but this is more maybe for a future budget, any expenditures for marketing?
Well,
Or are they elsewhere in the budget?
we didn't discuss that. And typically, a lot of all the social media is free.
Yeah.
Press releases are free. Working with Owen is free. We try to be pretty fiscally responsible. And then if anything does arise for marketing, newspapers are kind of falling by the wayside. Just things are shifting. There is money in other line items that could potentially shift, like for office expense or
Are there national events or national conferences that can be targeted in the future?
I have gone to the ICSC events. I've gone to some of the ones that are closer in Boston. I've been down to DC. And what I find is for the product that we have here, it's really probably not of value to really go to
Right.
those. And we don't have a lot of large properties left that we're marketing.
Yep.
So I think we're fine. I don't think we need to do that. Personal outreach seems to work just as well.
And the last question I have, because I get asked this probably 3 times a week, what about the grindhouse?
It's still in the works. That's about all we can say about that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Seeing none, Madam Chair, I'd like to move the bottom line for community development in the amount of $185,872.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, on the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood? Yes. Councilor Foot?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have IT GIS.
Okay, and Doug Rathburn will be stepping to the podium.
It would be ironic if the screen just shut off.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to bask in this moment for a while tonight. Okay. So let me move along here. I think I remember how to run a keyboard. So I'm Doug Rathburn, and I'm the IT GIS manager for the town of Derry. And our 2027 budget consists of, or our goals in this future years, we keep continuing to strive to provide enhanced customer service through online applications. That's an ongoing process. We're also looking at, on our hardware end, currently are switching, some of the switches in the town are actually at end of life, and we're looking at replacing those. I will say that we are in a fantastic spot here in the town of Derry. Over the years, we have invested in our hardware and our infrastructure, and it's interesting because yesterday I go to a quarterly meeting of IT management up at Primex, up in Concord, and I get to talk to my peers. And we're in a really good spot, okay, when I talk to some of them. So we're actually not spending that much as far as hardware costs anymore. It's more in the software lines. One of our major projects for 2027, we're looking at replacing cabling and the network infrastructure down at the wastewater treatment facility. That facility is actually a hub for that entire network down there. So transfer, highway garage, water, wastewater, public works, the highway department, everything comes through the wastewater facility and then back ends to here at the municipal center. And that infrastructure is just a little outdated and needs to be cleaned up. So we're looking at doing that as well. And once again, the big one for us is to continue to enhance security and any resulting solutions. That's the big thing. I mean, even once again, going back to my meeting I went to yesterday, that is the thing. keeping things safe. And that's what we're trying to do. So, revenues, all our revenues come from intergovernmental transfers from water, wastewater, and cable. There's a formula that basically takes chunks of what we do, storage, office licensing, everything like that, and those numbers are calculated based on such. Any GIS fees, that's sort of a placeholder number. I'll be honest with you, the $800, we probably won't see that. It's just a different world out there. There was a time when people would come in here and buy the tiles. Now they can actually get a lot of this data online for free. So, but that's there. As far as our operating costs, line 342, there's an increase in that line. We're adding failover connectivity for the new HQ at the Derry Fire Department. Our 341 line, we're looking at additional data plans for the Derry Police Department. We've got the motorcycles coming online. There are new cars coming online over there. We're also looking at lines, a line for BEV and additional lines at the DPW. We've also added SCADA data plans. So all our entire SCADA system, which is the network that all the pump stations operate on, those are all cellular now. And that is actually in that line as well, which there's a small increase there, but you're actually seeing that because that's actually covered by the revenues that are generated from water and wastewater. The 342001 line, which is basically our software line, we're seeing an overall increase of $30,094. Support costs are increasing 5 to 7%, pretty much across the board, and they're really vendor-driven. Everything's subscription-based now. We do have some applications on-prem internally that we manage, but that's where we're going. That's where the future is. Some of the new items that we're adding, and I don't know if we talked about this last year, but so we ran for the entire last year an application. It's called Bullware Ransomware. And it's an annual subscription, and we purchased it last year to see how it would do. And it's been amazing, okay? You don't want to see it work, actually, okay? Because if it's working, you're actually dealing with a ransomware issue. But we've actually been able, the way it works is it actually monitors in real time your entire network. And any anomalies that occur on the network, it sees it, it takes the computer, it locks the user out, it shuts down the computer, and if they're on a shared drive anywhere on the network, it actually drops the share, okay? We had, and I think I mentioned this last year, so we had a demo done by them, and we've actually seen it happen, okay? So we've seen a proof of concept here, where we had a detective over at the police department had been changing files. It was legit. But the ransomware actually, we got a call at like 8 o'clock at night. Hey, I'm locked out of my computer. I'm locked out of my account. I can't log on. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. So it's a growing process. So we actually ran it for a better part of 2 months, just monitoring, seeing what the traffic was like on the network. So, but other than that, it's been really stable, and it's a really incredible piece of software. The company that provided the software, launched a piece of ransomware on our network. And ransomware, you're always worried about the encryption of your files. Your files are basically useless after that, and they want your money in order to decrypt the files. They ran a piece of ransomware that I want to say encrypted files at a rate of, I want to say it was 10,000 files a second, okay? We launched it in a test environment on our network, and the ransomware actually, the Bullwall application actually shut down the ransomware and knocked the computer off, knocked the user off the network. And during that time, there were only 30 files encrypted, which is amazing. Because normally you're talking, as soon as that starts, you're done. So just the fact that we were able to actually stop it at that, at that level was amazing. We're also adding additional ArcGIS licensing in the Department of Public Works. We've got a lot of young guns in there now, okay, new people, and they're bright, they're young, and they actually use GIS, which is kind of neat. So there's an increase in pricing there. Line 44001, which is our lease line, we're seeing some pretty significant increases in hardware costs. So we lease a third of our computers annually. We're seeing increases of about $300 per unit right now. So it's tariffs, and the big thing is actually AI, which is affecting everything, because it's affecting the memory costs and your hard drive costs. So it's unavoidable. It's across the board. Even Chromebooks these days are crazy. It's hopefully in the future, we'll see it dip down again, but the current AI trend is actually causing those price jumps. Line 69002, that was our hardware line. You'll actually see a significant decrease in that just because we have updated most of our hardware. The next time we should see hardware for refreshes along those lines are probably 5 to 7 years from now. So once again, our overall operating costs increased by $44,242 or 4.8%. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I do have one request to make. On that 44001 line, I would like to increase, there is a item in there for our 2027 computer lease. I would like to increase that line by $600 because we actually have 2 new positions that we have to add a leased computer for. So
the 88,280, you want to increase it to 880, 88,880?
Yep.
That would be a bottom line of 1440832.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. Any questions?
Come on, Jack.
Okay.
Counselor Foot? I'm going to let Counselor Foot go first this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Doug.
Sure.
The AI, is that any increased risk for the system in any way? Like, is that an increased target for, or complicate things further as far as
Yeah, what's
security goes?
interesting, it's actually an increased target for, or becoming so, at least through the grapevine, where I heard yesterday, for 91A requests. But we also don't, as part of our, AI is everywhere.
Yeah.
Any browser you fire up. It's interesting because the whole concept of AI, is it actually a finished product? Is the process of using AI susceptible to a 91A request? Or you would think the final document may be produced by that. But it's interesting because it's out there. A few towns that I talked to had actually had 91A requests, and they actually did not honor those requests. There's really it's sort of a real gray area out there right now.
Right.
AI itself, at some point, we really don't use it internally. At some point over the next year, we'll actually be looking at developing policy related to that, because it can be used for really good things, and it can be used for really bad things.
So didn't a few years ago, as far as security goes and ransomware,
Right.
a few years ago, I can't remember exactly when, but wasn't there a significant investment into the security program that you had? And
it's ongoing.
I know it's ongoing, but I thought a few years ago we made like a very substantial one, and I didn't know if that when the next anticipated like big thing would be, or is it just the maintenance, the ongoing maintenance?
It's the ongoing maintenance.
So in the projected 3 to 5 years, is nothing magnificent that we have to
No, I
prepare
think
for?
the next big one is actually in 2 years' time, and that's when our Barracuda antivirus archiving, the firewall that sits in front of our email, is going to come for renewal, and they've got new product. We actually entered a 5-year agreement with them the last time we renewed, just so we could save money.
Yeah.
But that'll be the next big thing.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll be honest with you, Charlie, it moves so fast now. Who knows what that looks like?
It's true.
Charlie answered my question.
Did he really? You're actually killing me.
There you go. I'm done.
Counselor Mills?
Madam Chair, seeing no other questions from anyone else, and I'll be the first one to tell you that I didn't understand a word that Doug said. And at my age, I'm fine with that, but I trusted that because nobody else jumped up and screamed anything. I'm going to move the bottom line for information technology in the amount of $1,440,832.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Brought that part last time. All right, on the motion, Counselor Mills?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. I had a question but realized it's not something to ask right now, so.
And I would just like to
Didn't have to do with
say,
the budget,
okay,
so I'll wait.
I would just like to say that this is probably going to be the last time I'm sitting in front of you in this capacity. So it's been a pleasure, okay? And hopefully when I exit this stage, we leave you in really good hands. The guys that work for me are fantastic. And it's actually hard to leave, but
How many years?
You know.
How many years, Doug, have you been doing this?
What's that?
How many years have you been sitting there?
I've been sitting here for 31 years. So,
Thank you.
boy, I've seen a lot.
You're only 39.
You are my man.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to assessing.
All right, Mark Fleischer will be representing the next couple of budgets here.
Okay, good evening, Mark Fleischer, CFO. We're going to start off with assessing. So in the FY 2027 budget for assessing, we're getting into the third year of a 5-year contract with Whitney Consulting for assessing duties. There's going to be a minimal increase of $4,800 on that line. As far as revenues go, there's payment in lieu of taxes, also known as pilots, are going to increase over FY '26 with an addition of the solar power generating facility located at Transfer Lane at $20,000 per year for 25 years. Nutfield Heights continues to provide a consistent revenue as their pilot is a fixed calculation per New Hampshire statute. The printing and mailing line have increased for FY '27 due to the townwide revaluation that is expected to be completed by September 2026. The increase is due to required notices that will be sent to all taxpayers. So overall appropriations are increasing 2.26%, and the appropriation total is $513,473. Any questions?
I just want to thank everyone so far that every question I've had, you've answered in your presentation, so I haven't had to ask it, so thank you.
Great.
Any other questions?
All right, it's okay.
Seeing no questions, Madam Chair, I move the bottom line for assessing in the amount of $513,473.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, on the motion, Counselor Mills?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0. You're on a roll. Keep going.
Okay, let's
Over to
get
finance.
over to the finance department now. So in FY '27, the budget has increased over FY '26 by $106,974, or 14.3%. That is primarily due to personnel and audit expense related. Total personnel services increased 7.8%. However, health insurance premiums have increased 26%. Workers' comp also increased 36.6%. We have budgeted 5 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees who are the treasurer and deputy treasurer. Auditing services, this is the killer, is increasing $44,700 over FY '26. That seems to be an industry trend. We went out to bid and we only received 2 bidders. There just isn't a lot of people getting into municipal auditing like we do. We're also increasing our professional services line account number 390000. That is because we have a valuation year on our OPEB benefits, and that's going to be $10,000 higher than last year, which was just a reporting year. Revenues are projected to be $25,600 for the year. We're estimating that our commercial P-card rebate will come in around $25,000. So our appropriation total is $856,531. Questions?
Questions? Council Webb?
Just a general one. Why was there a 36% increase in workers' comp?
I think what it is that, we've had claims, significant claims. We've been trying to, increase our experience, or improve our experience rating, but I think they just went ahead and just did it across the board for all.
Okay.
However, believe it or not, the fire department rate came down compared to everybody else. So they were the ones that were the highest. So they're working to bring theirs down. That's really the reason.
It's just weird to see a workers' comp line on the finance department.
I know, it's such a low rate to begin with.
Yeah.
So when it goes up $5, then I guess it's a significant percentage.
No questions?
Seeing no questions, Madam Chair, I move the bottom line for finance in the amount of $856,531.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? On the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Now we're up to tax
Okay,
collection.
so next is tax collection. I'm going to invite Stacy Beliveau up, tax collector.
Good evening. My name's Stacy Beliveau. I am the tax collector, and I'm just going to go over some revenue highlights. Interest and penalty revenue has been consistent for the past several years, therefore no change. Interest rates are 8% current year and 14% for the lien year. Motor vehicle and boat revenue have been increased based on higher list prices, volume of transaction, and convenience of processing boat registrations here. I got to tell you, the other day with boat registrations, we went through a pack of boat decals, or 25, and we went through 2 of those in one day. So that is increasing. We will see more of that as the weather continues to get nicer. Sale of tax deeded property is the same as FY26. However, we expect to sell one property during fiscal year 27 based on current town deeded property inventory. Expenditure highlights: tax collection staff, 5 full-time employees. However, we have another full-time employee starting this Monday, which will bring us to 6. Using historical data, overtime has increased due to staff scheduling during vacations. Postage expenditure increased due to the increased yearly cost and volume of mail being processed in the tax collector's office, especially due to online transaction volume. Appropriation total is $972,950. Just some customer service items: credit cards accepted for all transactions at the customer service window with multiple payment options available, payment tenders, acceptance of ACH and credit card payments through the customer self-service module on our website. We have an ATM available in the lobby, real-time visibility of tax and utility balances on town website. You can go on the website, you can reprint your tax bill, and you can also go online and do motor vehicle registrations, as well as get estimates for a renewal or a new registration. Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for those at home, so boats can be
Yes.
registered here. Doesn't have to be the town they live in. Just for anyone home, they can register the boats here at any time, regardless of where they live, correct?
That's correct, yes. They don't have to be a Derry resident.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would just like to, I don't have a question, but just on this customer service topic, thank everybody who has worked on this, because I can say I use the online registrations for a motor vehicle, for my dog license, except when I was late. But I think we do a really good job of focusing on our our residents and trying to make things as easy as possible for them. So thank you to everybody that does that. No,
Thank
may
you.
not. Yes, you may.
To that point, so do we have the breakdown, the percentage, how many people actually utilize the online versus come in person? Is that?
I don't have that with me this evening, but I can get back to
Is
you
that
with
something
that.
easily attainable, just to?
Yes, yep.
Okay, just curiosity, it's not,
So how many online versus come in?
Yeah,
Okay,
this
I
is
can get back
percentage.
to you. Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Webb?
Just going back to customer service, I want to thank you and your staff because they really are helpful. I see it when I walk through town and also, encompassing it, a weird title problem with myself. They didn't know who I was and just how helpful and knowledgeable they were. So it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's nice to
Yeah.
hear. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Seeing no further questions, Madam Chair, I move the bottom line for tax collection in the amount of $972,950.
second.
Any other discussion? On the motion, Counselor Mills?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Foot?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
All right, looks like cable is up next. Do we know where Owen went?
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for that, we'll
Okay.
go with, we'll go with the
Clerk,
town
yeah.
clerk and elections.
Okay.
You may have to slide through in the order of them, but.
Good evening. So, Town Clerk's office is responsible for all the records and the management of vital records, meeting minutes, dog licensing, and of course, elections. We tend to be where everyone in town calls to see and ask all sorts of questions. We get all sorts of mail. I got a request today about someone who obviously has a neighbor that has an out-of-state license plate, and that I need to inform them that they need to register their vehicle. So, we have 2 full-time employees, one part-time. She's full-time, part-time. She's got partial benefits, 30 hours. Most of my increase is personnel-related. This slide was done on the 10th. We are now up to, as of this evening, 4,290 dogs licensed, with 2,417 unlicensed. Licenses are due on April 30th, because the dog year runs May 1 to April 30th. To Counselor Foot's question, 68% of our dog licenses are renewed online. I checked that number today. Most people automatically renew them. Some people set up for auto renewal. You can renew online as long as your rabies is current. Otherwise, they email us their rabies certificate, we update it, and they make their payment online. We mail out their registration. On the revenue side, back in late May last year, council approved a fee for ceremonies. As of last Friday, we had done 52 ceremonies since the end of September. It did take time for all of my staff to get their justices of the peace. So, and we get lots of phone calls every day. People are coming in. They're what they call a courthouse wedding, because, our courthouse doesn't have it. We actually had another one yesterday, so the number is now 53. They come in all dressed up. We recently had one that not only did we marry them, their dogs also became family. The dogs came in all dressed up in dresses and tuxedos, and we pronounced them a family once we had married them. So it is interesting times at Town Hall, but it's great to see our Most of our revenue is set by state statute. We're not really a money-making department. So this is nice that we're offering a service to any New Hampshire resident, but mostly our Derry residents. And, getting married is expensive nowadays, so they can get it done quick, get it done relatively inexpensively, and move on and have their party later and not actually call it a wedding and pay less for it. So if you guys have any questions on that budget.
Counselor Foot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two quick questions. On the same question that I asked the tax. Non-residents can get married here, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And secondly, is there any kind of, for the service, any kind of backdrop for like pictures for them? And if that's something that, if we don't have that, is that something that's worthwhile getting?
So that is something I've been thinking about myself and some other people downstairs on the first floor. That little side room, if you go in there now, there's a bunch of plants in there. We're trying to make it a little bit prettier and a little bit nicer. In fact, I put up a Norman Rockwell marriage license painting that was hiding in the basement. So I've been trying to kind of do little things. A backdrop would probably be something really nice, but that's something we'll figure out as we go. I'm looking forward to seeing a whole year's worth of marriages and how many we're doing and what that maths out to.
Just figure any little enhancement might be a little more of an attraction versus coming here versus another town hall. If it's the little.
Well, not every town hall offers marriage services. You can get a marriage license at any city or town clerk in the state, but it's us, it's Manchester, it's just a couple others that actually offer the ceremony piece.
And it's only $135?
For the ceremony piece, yep, and your marriage license is $50. And then we put in a marriage certificate for $15, so the whole package is $200.
I'll have to keep that in mind for the next ex-Mrs. Mills, next future ex-Mrs. Mills.
I was going to give
$200.
53 full couples.
Any other actual questions or comments?
That was a legit question.
Does your wife watch the meetings?
Yeah, I hope not.
Oh, I'll tell her all about it, don't worry.
Either that or I'll have to give you cash. Quick.
That's a Vegas divorce.
Madam Chair, I move the bottom line for the town clerk in the amount of $246,345.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mrs. Mills will find out, don't worry. On the motion.
Yes.
Counselor Mills.
$135, yes.
Counselor Webb.
Yes.
Counselor Flood.
Yes.
Counselor Foot.
Yes, and she already knows.
And chair votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. And elections.
All right, and we'll move on to elections. Okay. So the next fiscal year, we're going from one election to 3 elections in the fiscal year. So that's why the personnel line jumps so much. Postage, there's an increase in the postage line due to legislation at the state level requiring an annual verification of the checklist at the local level. So they passed Senate Bill 221 last year. It goes into effect this year. It was after budget season, so we're figuring it out for this year. But they'll be having a supervised checklist will be having a session next week, which is the start of the annual verification process. There are, I believe it's 2,064 voters that they're going to need to look at because they haven't voted within so many years of the date. So we are required to mail them letters informing them that if they don't respond and come in, they will be removed from the checklist. We used to do it once every 10 years, and now we're doing it every year. So not in the budget, but I wanted to make the council aware. There's a bill pending in Concord, is House Bill 1300. This legislation will require a local ballot to be produced for the November elections. So that means we'd have to print 20,000 ballots to put 2 questions on it for our voters. We'd have to pay for the programming for the accessible voting. When the amendment to that bill was originally introduced, it was in the legislation to add it to the November ballot, which is provided by the state and doesn't cost the town. However, a floor amendment made it so that the town and city clerks will need to provide that. So 20,000 ballots and some programming is probably going to be between $7,000 to $8,000. So if that bill passes and we'll need to do that, then I will need to come back to the council for that money. Also, I just want to put it on your radar. I know it says House Bill 418. It's actually House Bill 481, which moves the primary date from September to June. It's awaiting signature from the governor. And Senate Bill 103 will require us to submit a plan in order to keep our 1 polling place for presidential elections. So, based on when that information comes out from the Secretary of State and what they're going to need, I will come to the council to have, we'll probably need to have some sort of discussion publicly about polling locations, polling places. And once Senate Bill 481 is signed by the governor, we will need to reach out to Pinkerton. The second Tuesdays in June is usually graduation day for them, so I'm not sure how comfortable they're going to be about us voting at Pinkerton then, or if they're going to be able to adjust that for 2028. So we'll need to have those conversations, obviously, but I wanted to put them on your radar.
Questions? I had one question. You mentioned on the verification that those 2,000 whatever people would need to come in. Is there accommodation for someone that's housebound or something like that to be able to still?
Yes. So if they are a registered voter who receives this letter, they would just need to call. The number will be on there, and we will talk to them and make arrangements for what they need to do. But most of these people have not voted in 4 or 5 years, so they may not even be here. We do have a transient population in some of the apartment complexes, and a lot of them only vote in presidentials. So if they didn't vote in 2024, they're most likely not living in town anymore.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure there was that accommodation. Any other questions?
Seeing no other questions, Madam Chair, I move the bottom line for elections in the amount of $152,087.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, on the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foot?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. All right, we can go back up to cable. Owen, are you ready?
Oh, sure. Good evening, councilors, Madam Chair, Town Administrator Fowler, staff in attendance, members of the public here, and those watching at home. My pleasure to present to you a summary overview of FY27 for the cable division, aka DerryCAM. I'm certainly going to keep this very brief, leave plenty of room for questions. I'm sure we'll have some. We're DerryCAM. We believe that a better world starts with a connected community. We strive every day to live that, work it, show it in Derry. Our strategy is fully aligned with Derry's master plan. I think it's important to note that, and I think you'll see parts of that peeking through as you see our strategy here moving forward. Every day we strive to keep Derry connected and bring the best in hyperlocal programming to the Derry residents and provide opportunities to create, capture, and share the stories that shape our lives. Stories that are meaningful, relevant, useful, entertaining, ultimately enhance the culture and quality of life for the residents and visitors of Derry, New Hampshire. How do we do that? Or what are we? We're an information distribution hub, basically emanating from DerryCAM.org. We promote Derry as a destination, spotlight arts and creative culture. Of course, like this one, allow folks access to live meeting coverage, which promotes civic engagement and participation. We reflect and enhance cultural identity for those who live in Derry and those who have the diaspora, if you will, that have since moved away, but want to stay connected to their hometown roots. We provide local and regional nonprofit visibility and outreach now more than ever. Nonprofits are leaned on for support, and we get plenty of feedback from our community partners that we do provide a valuable service for them. In a way, we preserve Derry's historic record. We've had experienced plenty of milestones lately, some big moves Derry is making. We're happy that we can capture those, and generations to come can see the transformation as we can right before our eyes. We also, hopefully we never have to use it, but we provide resilience during emergency in the form of communications and outreach to the public, primarily leaning on, when all else fails, radio waves, and our FM radio station will likely be there to provide information to folks as needed in the event of natural disasters, etc. And we're keeping Derry recognized as a leader in community media. We'll get to that in a little bit. This is a taste of what a connected Derry looks like. These are partners we work with every day. Year after year, we're very proud to do so. This is only a sample, as I say, and many projects are underway right now, and we've got new alliances, new partners forming all the time. We've got some fun and interesting and educational topics on the docket for the year coming ahead, which I'm excited to collaborate with those partners with that. How do we do all this? We're the Derry's Municipal Cable Division, serving 34,000 residents, 14,000 households, albeit funded by a fraction of that population, cable subscribers. We are not taxpayer funded. It should be no surprise to anyone that cable funds, we've talked about this before in presentations in the past years, but we've reached the cliff. Again, we'll allude to that in a little bit. Our platforms that we distribute on are Comcast channels 16 and 22. We distribute channel 6, which is the educational channel for the school district. Distribute meaning the school district takes care of the programming for the most part, save school board meetings and other special meetings that we capture here in-house at the Municipal Center. But that feed comes through our hub downstairs and then is distributed out to Comcast subscribers. Streaming and OTT, over the top. That's your Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV. If you have those apps at home, search Derry TV anywhere, worldwide, and you can check in on what's going on at home. YouTube channel, that's sort of a backup. We don't put a lot of faith in YouTube as a delivery source, but we do have that capability, and a lot of people find us on YouTube, largest video search engine out there. So it behooves us to be on there, and we do get some views, actually a lot of views, government meetings in particular, on that, as we live stream there, and then playback recorded videos. As I mentioned, 95.1, Derry's Evolution, and DerryCAM.org. So DerryCAM serves as the hub. From there, folks can tune in live from anywhere. As long as you have a computer and the internet, you can listen to WEVX, you can watch all 3 channels. And we have an expanding social media presence, primarily Facebook and Instagram. Right now, as we as I mentioned last year, last year and the sort of year before, we transitioned from a lot of the projects and investments that we've made in the large transition of DerryCAM and focus more on training, development, and optimizing our operations, right? Protocols, processes, building all those out. Part of that plan involves increased social media, particularly with multimedia, so video. So you'll see a lot more of that coming because, let's face it, that's where people are. They're on their devices, they're on social media. We've got to reach out to them and grab them back, hopefully right to the hub, DerryCAM.org, where they can then stay connected, stay informed about what's happening here in the municipality, town offices, around town with our community partners, and amongst each other in the community. Provide coverage of government meetings, local news, community events, and youth programming. Let's get right to the numbers. Picture says it all. What you're seeing there is from the budget book. This is the last 4 years represented sequentially there, up on the top graph. Those are requests. So these were the actual requested budgets over the past 4 years in their respective categories: personnel, operations, capital, and transfers. You'll see a bump there for that capital there. And going back to 24, that's the year we acquired our mobile capability with our new truck, F-350, which we just entered phase 2 this fiscal year, where we upfitted that with our enclosed service body. So that's a game changer. That's going to save a lot of time, a lot of energy, loading and unloading for all the, we call them gigs, all of the events that we cover around town, and we're able to dispatch and deploy a lot, much more nimbly and quick. And then down below you see the request compared to last year. You'll see a drastic reduction in certainly personnel. We've eliminated a few open positions that we had, which is going to create some challenge, frankly, moving forward. Those were specialist positions, intermediate, if you will, folks that might have experience editing or in principal or post-production that might find their way to DerryCAM, or we might find our way to them and recruit. So post-production is really one of our biggest challenges right now. We can go out, we can capture all the events all day long. It's very difficult, but it's the easy part. The hard part is creatively bringing all of what we capture together and making and enhancing it in such a way that it will captivate an audience and therefore be relevant and watched. So it becomes a vicious cycle if we go out and capture events and then we've got a backlog of projects that where they're stuck on the conveyor belt, if you will. So at this time, I wouldn't say we're doing minimum viable output, but we can do a lot more. There's a lot more opportunity there, but we just need to, we need more hands on deck, which is a challenge. And this is the big challenge. Again, you've heard me mention this the past recent year budget presentation. Here it is in blue and red. These are revenues the past few years. What you're seeing is a decline in folks subscribing to cable. So when we talk about a franchise fee that is given to Comcast in Derry, it happens to be Comcast subscribers, that fee is assessed only on the video portion, or television, cable television. So as you know, you can bundle a Comcast bill. You can get home security, you can get telephone, you can get internet, you can get TV. the way the law is written at this current time, only the TV portion can be assessed. So if folks get internet only and no cable TV because they don't use it, we lose, and that's what's happening here. So it's real. We've got to do something about it, and I would consider this, Mike and I have talked and agreed that we really need to take a deep dive this year. So consider this a prelude to a deeper dive. We'll come before you, having done some more. We've done plenty of research and looking at options, but we're going to do some more fine tuning based on current situation and what we know now, because it's changing. And we're going to lay before you some options, some suggestions, some considerations, and we really want your input as to the direction you'd like the division to go. What do we do now? Earlier this week, we're certainly not going to lay down or stand by. We're not going to think of the only option as Derry needs to kind of pick up the tab for this. We're going to explore all options, including right to the top. So earlier this week, did some advocacy work, met with Commissioner Gomez, met with the offices of our full federal delegation in their Senate and House offices, basically in support of one piece of legislation and asking them to, strike down another bill that's on its way up that really squelches local control. Has to do with, basically, if we did that, cable industry, if that bill went forward, cable industry would be able to kind of write their own rules moving forward. And we know we don't want that in New Hampshire. We certainly don't want it in Derry. So we're going to do everything we can to mobilize, take action on that. Again, what are we going to do? More to come. We'll all have a community and a leadership discussion on where we are, clear picture, and some considerations moving forward. Derry will have a seat at the table on my watch. That's just how we're going to roll. We're working hard. What you see on the right is our board. I'm a member of the Alliance for Community Media. While we were in DC, we took the opportunity to meet in person and strategize moving forward. As I said, this is not a new phenomenon. It's just becoming more and more real. This is the time we need to take action. So it's kind of a compressed sort of timeline here. Certainly continue to work with federal delegation, work with New Hampshire legislature. There are things states can do. There are things that our neighboring states have done that I think we would all agree would not favor well in New Hampshire, include the T word, taxation. But, Maine looked for a little bit at actually taxing the big companies, YouTube, and the folks that are streaming over that infrastructure, the public property that is the right of way, that the public deserves compensation for the use from these corporations. Monthly, millions of dollars are made on our property, and there should be a fair exchange for that. So I'll keep fighting for that. We'll continue to explore practical revenue models that we can work on in-house. And it will include, we've mentioned before, Councilor Webb, of course, I recall you mentioning sponsorship, things like that. That's part of our diversification of the media footprint we have with the radio station. Believe it or not, it's even with higher sort of regulation over the radio station, we're more open to sponsorship on the station. So we're really building that out and developing program that our local community is going to love, I'm sure. We can look at service model options. We can look at how we can adjust the services we provide. Primarily, we've got to meet the needs of the community. That's what we're always looking to do. But how can we do that in a sustainable way? We have a great investment here. We have a great tool here. People long before my time were forward-thinking and established this cable division when not every community has. We're very lucky to have the infrastructure, and I use that word intentionally. Community media in this day and age is more important than ever. When we all go home and we swipe it's becoming harder and harder to tell what's real anymore. But what happens in Derry is real, and we can capture that, and we can own our own media here in Derry. We're going to continue also to provide the best service possible under the current constraints, and we're going to lean on our culture of innovation and creativity to find the solutions we need to survive, to thrive. So that's a good note to end on. Happy to take any questions.
Counselor Foot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, thank you for all you guys do, your crew. For those who don't know, they're everywhere. Pretty much every event that goes on in Derry, DerryCAM crew is always there, so thank you for that. I know the income's a little tight, but do you have any capital improvement plans projected in the next couple of years?
We do, and we always, in light of these, declining that chart that you saw, we try to stay as fluid as possible. We've got projects that are on the burner, and as we see quarter by quarter, we get direct feedback on what we've got coming in and what we can use. I try to stay cautious and conservative throughout the year. You'll see a lot of my capital expenditures towards the end of the year. Finance loves that, but they tolerate it. They're a great team, and I love working with them. I couldn't do a lot without their support. I really appreciate them. But that's the reason why. There's a strategy behind that. So
are
in answer to your question,
are they in jeopardy, any of these programs or projects?
I mean, we're reducing, again, just staying fluid, Councillor Foot, and just, if I've got a smaller scale project, like maybe the next phase in Opera House connectivity, we'll kind of try to address that. Something we know we can complete at least a phase of, so that if we don't receive what we expect, we can at least complete something and keep moving forward. But to answer your question, I'm really looking forward to getting, to finalizing termination points, including cameras in the Opera House, so that as events happen there, like candidate forums, town forums, a diverse offering of entertainment comes there, we can capture that with that connectivity down into the master control suite and the control room downstairs.
Right. One more. And so to that point, actually, so with the Opera House, for example, so I know they rent out to a lot of other organizations, private organizations, to that. Is there ever any intertwine between DerryCAM and those private organizations broadcasting for them specifically?
Yes, mostly nonprofit entities that come in, and again, it's very valuable to them to capture something that they can then share far and wide. It increases the legs on that content and their messaging, whatever their priorities may be. So we partnered with community caregivers, and they had a theater project come through with very meaningful topics. You can watch it on Derry TV. And we had worked actually with those organizations during COVID when there were no other options for these performances. They produced a virtual performance. We were able to get that out for them statewide. So,
what about the private organizations, as far as like a nonprofit? Is there any kind of ability to do that, to air those, or is that against any kind of franchise rules, or?
I'm sorry?
Is it against any kind of franchise rules or anything like that to air those other organizations?
It would be a case-by-case basis in terms of if somebody were up there pitching some sort of project. Certainly the big thing is non-commercial, right? So if there were direct calls to action for a sale, which typically wouldn't find in a venue like that, but you never know. That would be the only thing we'd have to keep an eye out for. That, and if it was a performance of any kind, we want to make sure we understand who holds the rights to the performance and the material, and make sure we get clearance for that and make sure it's okay. Other than that, I'd say whatever we could think up.
Okay, thank you.
We could do.
I had a question. I think you kind of started to answer it. I was going to ask, is there ability to work with like the streaming services and stuff? And it sounds like there is already some kind of thought of how to capture revenue through that.
I'll just say, we can talk about this later in the year when we meet up, but there's just a lot of pushback from the industry, and they've got everything they need to push back really hard. Lots of money.
Yeah. Council Mills?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question regarding WEVX. That's our streaming radio service.
That is an over-the-air broadcast station. It's a low-power FM 95.1.
Do we have, and I think you said this, but I just want to make sure I understood, do we have the ability to override it in case of an emergency if we wanted to use it for emergency broadcasting?
That is exactly
We
the plan,
do.
Counselor. We have on the books to speak with the communications team over at both fire and police, so that we've got messaging prepared in any likely event. We actually have it in-house. We have messaging prepared for any likely event so that it can be deployed upon collaboration with emergency services. And we keep an eye on things like the reverse 911 and any messaging going out over social media, and we relay that over all of our channels. But in the event of it, let's say an EOC activation, we're right there in the room, and we're working with the team to determine what to deploy and what messaging to send out. And as best we can, we'll have it ready now.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Council Flood?
This isn't as much of a question as it is a preach, in a sense. In this day and age where we're losing control of all our local news and input, where everything's national news, national radio, national newspapers, it'd be nice for the public to support this kind of programming a little more, see better numbers, because this is where, all the information they claim they can't get it's all here. They should, focus more on local. I mean, this is our community. We have our own TV show. We have our own news outlets. If like they say, newspapers are dying, it's because newspapers are owned by 20 communities and none of them focus on Derry like you guys do. People just need to, know the resources there and start using it.
Thank you, Counselor.
Using it better.
I appreciate the comment. If I may, I agree with you now more than ever. We have a news desert that's increasing. All departments, I talk with Bev in Economic Development weekly, monthly on how do we get, there's a huge disconnect. Everybody seems like they're on Facebook, but then they didn't realize it was election day, right? Yeah. We're hearing that feedback. So that's our mission. That we're taking that very seriously. We're looking at ways we can fill these gaps and solve these problems, working with the departments, working with administration, and anybody to make sure that we can have, and that's the idea behind, I invite anybody here or at home who hasn't, go to DerryCAM.org. Not only check out the tune-in page, which is that QR code there, but look at the Derry Happenings calendar. That came out of a request that was pre-COVID. And we had two nonprofit organizations that had, some of us may have attended there, but both of their gala fundraising events on the same day. There was a disconnect. So we heard the call to create a single calendar that folks can use. So we're not just putting stuff on there. We invite everybody, and there's a little helpful video. Any organization can enter their events there, so folks can just go to hopefully one calendar. Ultimately, that's what we'd like to see. So we want to see more use out of that. We have blog pages that perhaps that we can promote that end up saying maybe, for example, election information. Well, people may find that, but they may not find the election information that's here on the town website. We guide right to the town website. We always go to source information. We're not going to recreate anything and have that opportunity for that disinformation or misinformation. We want to guide people directly to the source. So between the news deserts across the country, we just don't want to, we want to, resilient is a word that's used in public safety. I think we've got a little bit of a crisis when it comes to information and getting that out. And I think our goal is to keep Derry resilient. We take our sort of slogan very seriously. The more connected Derry is, the more resilient we are, and the stronger we're going to be.
Councilor Webb?
Just a couple of things. I really want to reiterate what Councilor Flood had said, because it's one of my significant frustrations, looking over at a blank wall over there that used to have Derry News, Nutfield News, and Union Leader Reporter. They don't report on anything that's occurring right now, and it's getting to the point that, yes, we are a news desert. Not becoming one. We have to admit we are that news desert, and I think that if we want to have true open government, we need to have an information service. We can no longer rely on the Union Leader because they're failing. Derry News, I haven't seen a hard news article in them in ages. So I think that's important. And with that, it sounds like you need to look at developing almost like a 5-year strategic plan. And going with that, because we've been talking like news, the other valuable resource you have to the town is the opportunity that you give pretty much anybody to come and learn about how to produce. And, it's a live way for, in essence, somebody to earn college credits. It might not be a college, but to earn that experience that they can apply. So.
Absolutely. On that note, if I may, I can't be at the mic. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out my dream team, DerryCAM Dream Team, loud and proud. It's because of them we can do. That's why you see us everywhere.
Yeah.
They are dedicated. They are willing. They get the mission. They understand what's going on. That's Catherine Mashimo, Ben Morris, Brady Miller, Kyle Schreiber, Jemmy Tremaine. I'd also like to mention and shout out our brand new interns. We take school to work very seriously. We have, since my time, about 8-9 years now, we've had a continuous feed of interns, both locally from the high schools, regionally from colleges. They're finding out about us, knocking on our door, and they're getting that credit, they're getting that experience, and some of them are going off and working at news outlets in the area. Some of them are, due to the work that they've done and the body of work they've created, they've gone off and gotten scholarships at prestigious film schools. So there's a lot going on there as well in the young team that we've got. And this year's interns that we've recently welcomed in are Aaron Hagman. He's attending next charter school, and Gavin McDowell, who's actually coming in from out of town and volunteering alongside. He's actually here tonight downstairs doing a little bit of post-production editing training, because that's where we need him. So we're excited to have them on board and watch them grow.
One last thing. Thank you, Madam Chair. For those at home who don't know, it's DerryCAM, award-winning DerryCAM. Bless you. If you can you highlight it then? I know you did it a couple meetings ago, but
thank you very much.
Free press is good press, right?
I appreciate you doing that. Without taking too much more of everybody's time, very proud of the team in this respect as well. We placed once again, so we've got a continuous streak, showing our proof of concept and what we can do in categories, 3 categories this last time around. One for independent programming, and that was for our All Things Recovery program. Then we had a youth placement, which that was over a tour by a couple of fine young ladies giving us a tour of JNF Farms, which is timely for this year, and we'll be replaying that for a while. And then the overall excellence, we placed in overall excellence, which we've continuously done over the past 8 years or so. So very proud of that, mostly proud of the team. And I will say that it's really, when we go and show these pieces, and we have a number of entries throughout the region, not only New England, New York State, including the big city, people are impressed. And what they're impressed with is, I've actually heard the comment more than once, I would like to go visit Derry. Not even kidding. They said, that looks like a great community. And it really is. And that's makes my job a little easier when we just point the camera and show the world who Derry, New Hampshire is.
Strong work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, seeing no further questions, I'd like to move the bottom line for cable TV in the amount of $535,900.
Second?
Any further discussion? On the motion, Counselor Mills?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we'll move to our libraries. We'll start with Derry Public Library.
Okay. And while we're setting up for that, I just wanted to make one comment that just I think is relevant here to the cable television. The budget that was submitted from Owen was about $636,000. We went through a process because of the declining balance to reduce that by about $100,000. We just couldn't make it based on the lack of the franchise fees. So when we come back, we've talked at length about having a workshop with the council, and one of the philosophies that the council and the public should be thinking about is this had always been almost like a self-sustaining enterprise fund. It's not. But now that you're chasing lower and lower revenues, it may be time to start to think of this more as the general government, general fund has some role in supporting this, because obviously you have all of these programs that really didn't exist 15 years ago. And the fact that every single governmental meeting is covered and covered well, and people rely on that service. So I just wanted to put that framework out there to say that, we took some drastic steps this year to get through, but we do need to, we will be back with a sustainability plan, Jack, that you talked about, that's a 5-year looking ahead plan.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kathleen Nemec from the Derry Public Library. I'm the library director. So I'm just going to give you a little information about what we've been up to. So all the numbers in my presentation all come from fiscal year 25. So we recently submitted our annual report to the state. So these are numbers taken from that report. So in an average week, we welcome a little over 2,500 patrons to the library. We pull 365 physical items from our shelves to fulfill patron requests, both for our library and also the libraries in the G-Milks network. We have an average weekly circulation of both our physical items and our downloadable items, a little over 3,500 items. Our public PCs are used about 177 times per week, and we answer a little over 200 reference questions each week. So I know this, by now it's almost become a little bit of a cliche, but libraries are not just books. We do host a wide variety of events at the library. Some of the pictures here are from the FanCon event that we do. I think typically it happens in June. We have the McGregor Poetry Contest and the annual Author Fest event. We also circulate a number of what we call unusual items. So we have games, outdoor sporting equipment, different electronics that patrons are able to borrow free of charge. We host a lot of programming for all age groups, so starting with the services and programs that we provide for adults. We've hosted 201 programs in FY25, and these are programs that take place primarily at the library, but also some offsite and also online. And in FY25, we had over 2,000 people participate in our programs. So in addition to just sort of one-off events that we also have a wide variety of book groups, film discussion group. We recently started a graphic novel discussion group. And we have a knitting and crochet meetup group. So there's something for just about everybody at the library. And then we have our children's programming, which is always very, very popular. The photo here is from the library field day that we had in June of last year. Last year, we had a total of 444 programs for children aged from birth to 11. And again, most of that programming is primarily at the library, but the librarians also do go out into the community and do programming, like at the schools and Don Ballpark. So in FY25, we had 12,779 children attending our programs. And just like for the adults, we do have some special programs throughout the year that are always super popular. We have our New Year's Eve program where kids get to celebrate the new year at noon. We have our annual One Spooky Night program, and last year over 250 children and adults attended that one. Summer reading is a very, very busy time for the library. Last year, we had 3,200 children attending the summer reading programs. We had 71 story times and events that were held just in that 8-week period. And 587 children did begin at least one reading log. And a lot of those did come back, and kids picked up another one. So that's a really valuable thing that we do. And here I provided some information about our network. We are part of the GMILKS network, and we're kind of fortunate because a lot of libraries in New Hampshire are not part of a consortium. So this network is 12 public libraries, 1 academic library, and we all share our materials and cataloging. We were a net lender because our collection is very popular in the network. So we sent 4,670 items just from our library to our partners. And in exchange, they send materials our way as well. And membership in GMILKS does just provide us with access to just a lot more physical and downloadable items than we otherwise would be able to do ourselves. So this year, our proposed budget for FY27 is $1,567,202,000. In FY26, it was $1,519,797. So that is an increase of 3.01%. Like everybody else, we were affected by rising health insurance costs, so that increased our personnel line. And IT hardware and software costs were also a big contributor to that. And that includes our computers, our GMILKS membership, our website, and just all of the technology that we run on. So that was it for me.
Thank you. Questions? Council Webb?
Just a couple of them. You mentioned GMLIX and it being New England College. Just out of curiosity, why is the university? Do you know why the university system in New Hampshire is not involved in a library?
I don't know. The consortium's been around for quite a while,
right.
And
because you've mentioned it before, I'm like.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Actually, I had a meeting with the GMILKS board today, and I was kind of wondering that myself. Like, what are they getting out of this? But they are one of our members. But it predates my time by a lot.
Years ago, I remember it was a service called EBSCO, which was to help with research, particularly with scholarly journals and so forth. Is that still something that the public can access if they have the library card? It might be a different name now, but.
Well, we do.
It's still around.
Yeah, EBSCO is still around, and we do have some services. They provide a number of different databases for libraries, so we do subscribe to some of them. Unfortunately, across the board, all libraries are noticing that our online resources don't really get a heck of a lot of use. So we're kind of paring back on some of those.
Yeah, I was I've been a heavy user of those in past lives.
Yeah.
I think that many people just might not be necessarily aware of that. The last question I have is more on AI, and it has to, again, do with research. Do you see AI coming into libraries in library functions at all, or?
We're not really using it to do our work.
Right.
And librarians in general are just a little leery of AI. It's something that we're really trying to keep on top of, just for patron education, if nothing else. One area where AI is really affecting us is in our collection development. There's certainly entire books are being generated by AI.
Right.
And that it's not always clearly disclosed. So some librarians have ordered books and found that they're providing wildly incorrect information or just the same AI-generated image, page after page. So we're working to kind of address those concerns in our policies and just our own awareness,
Yeah.
things to look out for.
Okay, sorry. Any other questions? We're just checking, your number on your slide doesn't match the number we had on our paper, so we're just making sure we have the right number when we vote the bottom line. Okay. So hold, please.
All right, yeah, so the number that we're referring to is correct on the sheet that the counselors have. So page 144, the bottom line for DPL is $1,569,140. So that's the correct number that you have on your sheets.
Okay, so we'll give you a little more money.
If there are no other questions, Madam Chair, I would like to move the bottom line for the Derry Public Library in the amount of $1,569,140.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? Let's go down this way. On the motion, Counselor Flood.
Yes.
Counselor Foote.
Yes.
Counselor Mills.
Yes.
Counselor Webb.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Good night.
You switch it up just to make sure we're all awake.
Yeah, I figure we're about halfway through, so I'd start going the other end now. All right, Taylor Library.
Good evening, counselors. My name is Jen Thielker. I'm the director over at the Taylor Library. And I have with me Angel Fontaine, who is our secretary of the trustee board. Sorry, a couple of role changes lately. But I'm here to talk to you about the little library on the hill. So I'd like to start with talking about some of our fiscal year 2026 highlights. The biggest one is the increase to our middle grade to adult participation in our library programmings. This has always been an area that we have struggled with. Usually the early education, we do very, very well, but have kind of lost whole generations of people once they've entered third grade or around then. But we have seen a huge increase in participation and kids coming back to the library and sticking around for a bit. So part of that is the start of our junior librarian program, which has helped with youth participation and interest in literacy. Typically, if kids see a book that a friend recommended, they're more likely to read it. We have been rethinking how we do our story times, providing a hands-on activity after every single one of them to connect what we do in story time with learning and tactile play. And then we saw a 6.89% increase in the amount of books checked out compared to the previous year. That should say 2024, sorry. All right. So here are those numbers in some pretty graphs. As you can see, the book checkouts have increased every single year for the last 5 years by a large portion. I think eventually we'll hit critical mass and that will plateau, but we haven't figured out what that limit is yet, so I'm gonna just keep on keeping on. On the bottom left-hand side, you see the teen and adult growth in both programs offered and participation. So on the left side, you have the amount of programs offered. So we're offering more adult programs, more teen programs, and then the participation of those has absolutely skyrocketed, particularly with the teens. So teens, we qualify as 12 plus for your we have offered slightly less programs this last year. We got rained out a couple of times and then a couple of staffing issues, but we are seeing more participants per per program offered, so more bang for our buck. Okay, so here we have, we now have a little free library in the back of the library for books that we might not be able to use in our collection due to their age or quality might end up in the little free library for people to take at any point. We have our adult tea party. Here you can see some of those hands-on activities where, like, we talked about bird feeders and then made bird feeders. We had escape rooms for kids, candy fine art, as well as presentations from the Audubon Society and our annual bubble party, which is loved by all. So what that means in numbers. We are requesting a larger budget for our programming to accommodate the larger sizes. On average, we're getting about 35.7 participants per program hosted, which is better than national average. For a library our size, that's fantastic. We are looking to increase our book budget to deal with an aging collection. We've made some strides on that, but the biggest area of concern is our nonfiction section. A healthy library has an age of 10 to 15 years old for the average collection copyright date. Ours is currently 20 years old. So building that up a little bit. And unfortunately, nonfiction books are expensive. They cost about $40 a piece. So we're slowly leasing new computers. So we're adding a second one this year for the lease program so that we can stay current on technology, and then a slight adjustment across the board for the true cost of supplies. All right. We have a couple of capital projects in mind for this next year. There is a crack down the center of the parking lot, which is susceptible to frost heaves and other issues. We'd like to address that before it becomes a catastrophic problem. The air vents are long overdue for a little bit of love, clean out, repair, and just an inspection for safety. And then we would like to put in a request for engineered drafts on a pavilion project that would come out about in fiscal year 2028. So, bottom line, we would like to request $249,009 for use in 2027. That's a 3.58% increase. That number is slightly off. 7150 in capital reserve funds, of which we currently have $390,877.31 in that fund. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions? Same issue as last library. Numbers don't match, so we just want to make sure that
Madam
we
Chair?
have 256, 159. That's correct.
Madam Chair, I've taken care of that already.
Oh, look at you.
Okay.
You were way ahead of me.
Thank you.
All right, questions before we go to that?
I would like to move the bottom line for the Taylor Library in the amount of $256,159.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foote?
Yes.
Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Okay, now we are up to OMO, other municipal obligations.
Okay, I've returned.
Welcome back.
Other municipal obligations. I'm not sure if everyone knows what that means, but other municipal obligations is also known as OMO. It's an activity center within finance. We budget general fund revenues and expenses that are not allocated to any given activity center. New Hampshire Rooms and Meals revenue sharing, general fund interest revenue, bond and lease payments, and property and liability insurance premium payments are examples of line items budgeted there. So in OMO, budgeted revenues include New Hampshire Meals and Rooms tax at $3.43 million. It's based on what we received in FY '26. We're using $444,000 of COVID-19 funds, $1.2 million from the collective bargaining expendable trust, and $400,000 from the unallocated fund balance towards the CBA settlements. Interest revenue, we're budgeting $1.1 million, and that's based on a 3-year historical trend. We're using fund balance, the FY25 surplus of $675,000 to transfer to the general fund compensated absence expendable trust. We're also using $78,800 of unallocated fund balance to transfer to capital reserves for capital purchases. That's a 2.5% inflator allocated for FY27 versus FY26. We also are using $90,500 of unallocated fund balance for property and liability insurance increases. $1.385 million is being transferred from the Fire Facility and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund to cover the FY27 debt service payment on the fire station and culvert bond. And we're using capital reserve funds to offset general fund capital lease debt payments. A lot of this is just stuff that we've been doing year after year, and the numbers are just changing. Some of the appropriations located in OMO are estimated earned time buyout payments related to CBAs. With roll-ups, this amount decreased 16.8%, but that is subject to change because the trend is people kind of wait to the last minute to say, hey, I'm retiring. Retiree health insurance premiums have increased $26,400. And then we're also expecting that to keep increasing because there's going to still be a wave of retirements over the next few years. Legal expenses, there is no increase. Property and liability insurance, as indicated before, increased 32.6%, and that is being funded by unallocated fund balance. Funding for the capital reserve funds for additional capital purchases is $728,800. We've increased the fees for the original car transportation program to $123,000. Also, budgeted here are our general fund bond and capital lease payments. And we're taking $750,000 and transferring it into the fire facility and equipment capital reserve fund for future fire station bond debt payments. So the total appropriation is $7,161,915. And that's what I have.
Questions? Nope. Council Webb?
Just one on revenues, and it's on the room and meals tax. As we're looking to, this is probably a swag guess for you, scientific well-asked guess, but generally when we see, let's say, like a business like the Grindhouse or Starbucks come in, do you see a noticeable increase in the room and meals tax revenue? So that you could say, so like the Bev says that you bring in this business, we'll see on the room and tax revenues an increase of roughly X.
So for FY26, there was about a $60,000 increase versus FY25. And unfortunately, we don't know what that number is going to be until around the time we set the tax rate.
Correct.
And there's a delay, so it's almost like you don't know, but based on what you see for the restaurants around here, and certainly Starbucks, they get a lot for a coffee. There's got to be some decent money going in there. So I feel it's just going to keep going up. There were a number of years there where the state just wasn't increasing the amounts properly. They were keeping all the money, but then a few years back, I don't know, within the last 5 years, I think the legislation changed that. So now we're getting much steadier income from this.
Because as we see growth driven by other areas, that's a lot of people just think, extra property tax revenue, but it's going to be revenue that we may see in other areas, like the room and meals tax.
Right. I mean, we're really dependent on this. You know, this is important.
Madam Chair, seeing no further questions, I move the bottom line for OMO in the amount of $7,161,915.
Second.
Any further discussion? On the motion, Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Looks like we have administration next.
Okay, now we're into a couple of departments that fall under the town administrator's jurisdiction. So starting with our administration, staffing levels are unchanged. There's 4 full-time employees, and total appropriations $720,538. Small amount of revenue, mainly copy charges, things of that nature. Increase in this budget is simply due to cost of living and health insurance increases for personnel. And that is it pretty much for this department.
Councilor Webb?
All right, I have an addition that I want to make to that line and ask the councilors to please go to page 56 of your budget book. And you'll see, second from the bottom, a dollar amount of $13,302. This is in the Human Services budget. I actually asked for that item to be put in, and it was to be a half of a housing voucher, in essence, for the Derry Housing and Redevelopment Authority. They would fund the other half. Subsequently, they have looked at their finances and felt that they could not necessarily fund the other half of that voucher. The idea was, it would be a small drop in the budget, but to one family, that housing voucher would mean a lot. But they can't fully fund the other half. So when we get to it, I will be reducing that to a placeholder value of $1. But what I'd like to do is, on the administrative line, if we just look at page 28, or actually, sorry, page 30, we go down into the 390 section, is to add some money under the administrative line for marketing, specifically marketing of vacant positions. This allow human resources to particularly in the fire, the police, or any other part of the town, to market the positions at a national level. So I'd like to add that, and I imagine would be in the 390 line, but Mark would be the better person of that, of $13,301. That would bring the administrative bottom line to $733,839.
I think that's a reasonable trade, and then obviously there'll be an offsetting reduction in the human services budget when we get to that. So
Yeah.
your new bottom line would be $733,839.
Any questions, comments, concerns with that change, or any other questions?
All right, I'd like to make a motion then that we adapt the bottom line of the executive department of $733,839,000.
This is just the
Don't we have to make a
administration.
motion to transfer that money?
I don't think we do. We can, yeah, because we're still able to
Right,
adjust
you're in
things.
the
Yeah.
process of establishing that budget. So by virtue of doing this, you are capturing what your individual, and then we vote formally on the budget. Once that's done, if you had any other changes, that constitutes a transfer. But for now, you just bottom lines are fine.
We can do bottom line, and it's just to clarify, it's the administration portion of the executive budget, because there are two separate
Correct.
divisions in there. Okay.
I will second that motion then.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the bottom line of $733,839 for the administration budget. On the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
now we'll go to Human Services.
Yeah, human services. I would say one of the areas that coming into this position that I really didn't have a lot of, firsthand contact with was our Human Services Department. And over the course of the last year, I've had an opportunity to reach out to almost all of those groups and have had a wonderful opportunity to learn and to understand what they do for the community. And I think one of the things that is really illuminating is there's a lot of people who care and stretch the dollars that are available through the town funds and items that are passed down to the various nonprofit organizations. We're very fortunate here in town, as I think all of you can attest, that our nonprofits do a wonderful job at maximizing the funds that they get, and it's a great impact on the community. So some of the highlights, obviously the three major objectives, we need to just make sure that all of our citizens' needs are met to the extent that they can when they're in an emergency circumstance. We do leverage our local assistance funds with other agency funds, and then obviously within our contract with CHS, continue case management services to assist residents to return to self-sufficiency. Just for everybody's knowledge, the town migrated from an in-house welfare model to a contracted model back in the fiscal 27 model, and so, 2017. So we've been at this for about 9 budget cycles now, and it's been a very good partnership with Community Health Services. Their portion, or they've requested a 5% increase. The town council just voted on that on April 7th, so that'll increase from $120,000 to $126,780 for fiscal 27. We also fund 9 agencies. They're designed to strengthen the social services net. I had the slide in there indicating the $13,302, which has been since reduced. And then our general assistant budget is remaining stable at $80,000. That's your catch-all for if there's fuel assistance, housing assistance, and it's been determined to meet the criteria. That's the fund that is utilized to make sure that our folks are protected and sheltered as needed. And with that, the bottom line would then be adjusted based on Councillor Webb's suggestion to $308,681. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
All right. And so just to look here, these are the lists of the agencies that we support, all the way down in the various amounts. So those have remained unchanged. We do take in each year the request for each agency. They provide backup for the services that we provide. And so, again, good partners with us, and we'll continue to support those partners because it's important for the community. So with that, I think that's it for Human Services.
Madam Chair.
Hold on.
I'm sorry?
Just a question, because I don't see it in this budget. I don't know if it's elsewhere or if it's funded differently, and that's CART?
Yes, so CART was in other municipal obligations. So
Okay.
I think the question you're going to ask me, I'll anticipate this. So we had, if you recall, we sat amongst this group here and looked at some of the financial constraints because they're losing grant funding and also their costs of operation have increased. So we were carrying a baseline for enhanced service of 60, I could be off here by a few dollars, but basically within the OMO budget, we increased it by about $60,000 to $123,000. So that is it within the OMO budget. We will continue that service. We're still exploring ways by which we can capitalize on other options, but to keep the service going as of July 1, 2026, we are increasing the funding that's being asked by Manchester Transit Authority.
Madam Chair, I will move the bottom line for Human Services in the amount of $308,681.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Councillor Mills?
Yes.
Councillor Webb?
Yes.
Councillor Flood?
Yes.
Councillor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. All right, on to the TIF district. So, as Bev had mentioned, there's a lot of great activity that's been going on in both of our TIF districts. And so just for the public's information, we have 2 TIF districts that are currently in effect. The Gateway District, which is the Ash Street, Folsom Road, Madden, North High, which is basically in the exit 4A corridor police station area. That area, obviously, there's been a lot of work done to try to, tune up the zoning and make sure that we're ready to go when that area is mature and ready for traffic to utilize the 4A corridor. The Derry Commerce Corridor started in the Manchester Road area with the widening back in 2013. It has since been grown to the Crystal Ave, Broadway downtown area, which has perpetuated our ability to take on the garage project at Abbott Court. So essentially, these are self-balancing funds using the portion of the assessment base known as captured assessed value to cover the expenses within those districts. Okay? So the idea is that there's a retained value of $102 million within the DCC TIF. And so those tax proceeds of just under $2 million are utilized to cover bond costs, maintenance within the corridor, and other relevant expenses. And there is some marketing in both of the TIF districts that we could utilize as needed to bring in growth and bring in new opportunities. For the Gateway District, the retained value is small. It's $41 million, but there's tax proceeds of just over $750,000. So again, that supports items within that TIF district, and then whatever is not utilized goes into fund, and that's utilized for future growth as needed. This is just a kind of an idea of where the corridor is located. You can see that in the green, so there's the area to the north, and then obviously coming back into downtown for the TIF district, the DCC, and then the Gateway is primarily out towards the 4A area. So let's talk about the Derry Commerce Corridor TIF district. So we do have employees that are embedded within that district. So some of the costs that come out of there are 1.5 full-time equivalent of DPW employee costs, 0.13 FTE of economic development coordinator. But obviously, there's maintenance expenses, seasonal activities that are supported that bring business to downtown, sidewalk maintenance, trash removal, economic development, marketing, streetlight expenses, street sweeping, banners, signage, trees, and then we do have an allocation to repave streets within the district as they are needed. One question that I think gets asked a lot is about the debt structure within the TIF district. So we have 2 bonds that are currently being paid with principal and interest. So the Route 28 North, which is Manchester Road up by the Walmart, we're in year 5 of 10. You have principal payment of $210K, and the interest payments are at $19,058. The Abbott Court bond we sold roughly 9 months ago, and so first principal and interest payment will be due in fiscal 27, and so again $976,000 in the principal, and the interest amount is $961,000. So the idea would be that the captured tax values, the proceeds, are utilized to cover both the expenses and the principal and interest within the district. Again, Gateway TIF district, this just gives you an idea of the properties within that district. Again, district operations, we have a marketing ability. We also have our economic development office partially funded by that. There's 1 full-time DPW employee and equipment that's there to maintain the 4A corridor, obviously current and future. Obviously, it's balanced for redevelopment and infrastructure trust for implementation of master plan activities, investment for alternate transportation, including the rail trail heading north. And then obviously the main goal we're looking to do is access and redevelopment of the north side of Folsom Road after the 4A corridor is completed. So those are the major goals. Bottom line, within the TIF district, you have revenues matching up with expenditures, $3,310,276.
Questions? Council Webb?
asked me several times, any update on the rail trail construction? And somebody asked me, I know it's not us, but are you aware of any plans to how the rail trail is going to cross 28 and interconnect with the one in Derry? Although I know that crossing would be in one in Derry.
Right. Okay, so we'll start from, let's just say we start from Hood Park and work our way north. So
Right.
obviously, the first group would be, or the first phase is the completion of the 4A tunnel. Okay, so we are still waiting from the state, despite numerous inquiries with them, what the technical part of that's going to look like, meaning how high is it, where does it connect to our existing infrastructure. But we've been assured that that is going to be a component of the finished Exit 4A project. I think the construction crew is the one that's really waiting for how tall, how much fill do I bring in or how much do I not? But that issue, they've at least assured us that there is going to be a tunnel pursuant to that court agreement that they made with the petitioners to have that as a straight through. So that we'd expect to be done with, by 2028 and that's in their process of putting that all together. Going north of there, the town has been awarded a New Hampshire DOT grant. I think it's just over $900,000. So design work, we're soliciting currently for the design work. Tom's DPW group is soliciting engineering, and that will set up a design to take us from basically north of the Exit 4A culvert, going under the new road, all the way to the Londonderry town line. So the design will be done, and then shortly thereafter, we'll be looking to bid for construction using an 80-20 split on the cost share that the state is going to kick in. I'd anticipate that probably will not happen until, the construction won't happen until we get into the completion of the 4A project, 28, 29, somewhere in that time frame. And then in Londonderry, I had heard rumors about them doing some work to complete that last link between Route 28 in Londonderry and the Derry-Londonderry town line. But I don't have any further information as to where their project timeline is on that. So I don't know the discussion. I've not heard that there was any alternate design of that. In other words, it would remain an at-grade crossing at Route 28 in Londonderry.
The other question, it's really nice when you come through the Derry Commerce District, particularly in the wintertime and stuff like that, with all the signage and banners that you put up. And then I know it's too early for the Gateway TIF district, but is there a plan to do something similar as people enter into town once that whole project is completed as far as signs and banners?
I think we would be open to something like that. I think, this would be something I think that would fall within the Economic Development Office and looking at some of the opportunities. It's going to be a vastly different visual when you come into town. I mean, you've got residences on your south side, and now you've got kind of a wide open area, but what used to be a 24-foot wide road is going to now be multiple lanes on both sides. So the pole lines will be set back, but I do think there'll be some opportunities for, having some banners or some signage that commemorates Welcome to Derry.
Madam Chair, seeing no further questions, I move the bottom line for the TIF districts in the amount of $3,310,276.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? On the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes.
I
Motion
had
passes
a question.
5-0.
Just thought of it. It's not going to have any impact on this, but flags downtown this year, it's not a problem. We still have those.
Yeah, we would be basically, I think, between now and Memorial Day, we'll get those put back up. As you can tell, they do take a lot of abuse with wind and thunderstorms and things like that. So usually they come down in the winter, but as soon as we can before the Memorial Day, we clean everything up in downtown, and there'll be some flags back up.
Right. I know it's not going to be a big thing, but between now and the time we vote on the final budget, if we need anything extra for that, then
Yeah, I think we'll be fine as far as that's concerned. I mean, again, the cost to buy a new flag is not tremendous.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Planning Department.
Good evening, counselors.
Good evening.
Okay, so the planning department is comprised of 2 employees, myself and the fabulous Caroline, who helps keep things running in the department. We also have 1 temporary employee. We are in the process of hiring another intern for this summer. It was very successful last year. We had a great candidate who really helped to move some zoning projects and things along for us, so we hope to have another good candidate this year. Our projected division cost is $388,912. Most of that is personnel. Our revenue projections for the next year, right now, our year-to-date application revenues, well, as of the end of March, we were 137% over what we had anticipated. We don't expect that trend to keep continuing. We're starting to see a little bit of a decline in TRC applications, which usually means things are going to drop off a little bit. So we do expect our revenues will drop off just a little bit heading into fiscal '27, but there shouldn't be a detrimental impact because we do have Derry does continue to be a favorable market. We are in deep discussion with developers for new commercial and industrial projects and projects that will add housing to the town. Although we're not a revenue-producing department, you do get to see the results of our work in the permit fees and things that come in through other departments. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? You already took care of my question?
Madam Chair, I've got a new figure.
You do?
For the planning department, I move the bottom line for planning in the amount of $343,662.
Oh, because I can't math. Thank you. I do a lot of things well, but not math.
All right, any further discussion? All right, on the motion, Council Mills?
Yes.
Council Webb?
Yes.
Council Flood?
Yes.
Council Foot?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, counselors.
All right.
So that waited 2 hours for that.
I know, right? Poor Liz. Now we have capital improvement
I
program.
know, yeah, poor Liz, we had her stay for
know, right?
about a 90-second.
For us to be like, that's great.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to, there's 2 items remaining as far as bottom line. So you have the expendable maintenance trust, which is $205,000. And those are just miscellaneous projects that are spread out throughout. They're primarily existing buildings where we've identified a small capital need. Like, for example, many of them this year are upgrades to Station 2, 3, and 4, not headquarters, because obviously we spent a lot of time, effort, and energy to get the headquarters built, but some of the other stations still age on, so bathroom projects, garage doors seem to be another theme. So those projects are covered under the expendable maintenance trust. We've tried to target somewhere between $200,000 and $265,000 per year, but these are needs that have been identified by the department heads. And then finally, there's a provision for some sidewalk paving at $50,000 out of the EMT. So this is just a revolving fund put in place probably about 10 years ago, just to make sure that we have a pot of money to address. We've done air conditioning units before. We've done some repairs at police station. We've done some repairs at Adams Memorial. So the bottom line on that is $205,000, unless you have any questions regarding that, and then I can go into the capital.
Questions on the expendable trust? Okay.
Seeing no questions, Madam Chair, I move the bottom line for the expendable maintenance trust in the amount of $205,000.
Second.
All right, any discussion? On the motion, Councilor Mills?
Yes.
Councilor Webb?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Foot?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0.
Okay. And lastly, we have capital. So just going to run through these slides just to give a snapshot of what's being supported. The fiscal 6-year CIP is a product that, as I had said in our meeting on April 7th, is a year-round process. We go through, we look at a number of different items to replace, right-time them, make sure that we were able to meet the needs of each one of the town's departments, And obviously, we also incorporate items such as ongoing maintenance for roads, bonds for grant-funded utility expansions, and things of that nature. So you'll see all those projects within the 6-year CIP projection. But then year by year, you have a payment that has to be taken out of the general fund once you go ahead and you split all those projects. Some are paid in year one because they're smaller projects. Some are put through spread financing, 5 or 7 years, particularly the vehicles, and then others are bonded over a 20-year or 30-year period, depending on the size of the project. Talking about the capital improvement plan process, again, we're going to work through this today. We'll have the public hearing on the 23rd. And then on May 5th, the council will vote on the CIP and the fiscal 27 budget. Again, CIP plan, it's about $62.5 million. General fund's $30 million, water fund's $12.9 million, and the wastewater fund is $19.9 million. Talking about some of the FY27 CIP requests, it is $26.6 million for all projects. The general fund is $7.4 million, water fund $11.6 million, and the wastewater fund is at $7.6 million. Now, with that said, those numbers look pretty daunting, but because of the way we bring in revenues and the spread financing that I was talking about, we are able to spread these payments out, and Mark does a really good job at keeping a scorecard as to where we stand, because there's some trailing year obligations as well. If we bought a fire truck 7 years ago, we may still have payments on that have to be captured in this year's budget. So that is a very intricate process, but we have a blend of spread financing and grants that we take in from state and federal sources. This is probably too small to share, but this is in our budget books, just showing all the departments for the requests this year. Each one of the departments, DPW, fire, and police, each have a capital reserve balance, and that is a mechanism that they are able to fund their particular projects over the 6-year period. And the exercise that we do is we look at what we project based on fund balance. There's a formula that passes down funds to each capital reserve fund, and then we look at what the projected payments are based on what the requests are, and we try to project out where that fund would be, and we want to obviously keep that in a good situation so that we're not dipping below zero. And in most cases, we were able to do that. All right, just to run through the projects real quick for fiscal 27, the police department's identified 6 hybrid police interceptors, $341,312. There's a couple of photos of the old and a picture of what it's going to look like new. They've gone to kind of the SUV version now as a backup. There's a Motorola contract for communications at $93,358. There's also going to be the K9 cruiser replacement with a hybrid police interceptor, and that's $59,957. In DPW, I'll run through these really quick. Sidewalk machine, $200,000. Plow truck, $165,000. Chipper, $75,000. A smaller pickup truck with plow, there's 3 of them throughout various divisions at $65,000 each. Code enforcement, we had talked about in the DPW budget, is seeking to add a position of an inspector, so we obviously have to support that with a vehicle. That's a $60,000 endeavor. Ball field groomer, $45,000. Storage trailer for the public works trash trailers, $300,000. Roadway maintenance, we've reduced that as a result of some of the budget realities, but obviously we talked about our ability to stay very high on the PCI rating because of all the other projects that are going on through DOT and other state agencies. On the fire side, 2 major projects. Fire engine 2 replacement, that's a $1.3 million endeavor. Obviously, those payments are going to be spread over multiple years. And then we also have an ambulance replacement estimated at $446,500. Water, obviously there's a number of regional water projects that are going on that we were able to just take in some grant funds. And so Those projects are going to be accelerating over the next 2 years. Council voted to accept 100% grant funds for Phase 2A projects, and that's at $11.3 million. So none of those projects are costing the town of Derry or the town of Derry Water Department ratepayers anything. In wastewater, we do have a couple of projects that will hit against their rates. Replacement of 1,500 feet of effluent force main. We're obviously in the process of starting the design work for the Route 28 South sewer going towards Ryan's Hill. And obviously that's got an estimated cost of $6.18 million. EPA grant's going to cover 80% of a lower number at $3.2 million. So again, we have revenue sources to offset most of those costs. And with that, when you blend this all together, all the capital, all the spread payments, all the grants, the bottom line for the capital for fiscal '27 is $4,092,207.
Questions, Councilor?
I just have a question, and we'll go back, I'll use the fire vehicles as an example, where we're looking at some of them being 2 to 4 years out. So, yeah, we may be setting aside in the capital plan this year, but they're looking at a date of maybe 2030 to 2031. Now, we're encumbering that money now. I know there'll be some payments, you pay for the plans, you pay for deposits, stuff like this, but the bulk of the payment isn't paid at the end. Will we be collecting interest on those encumbered funds for ourselves?
I believe we do, and I'll have Mark come up and clarify how that works on the shorter term borrowing. I know how it works generally for the longer term borrowing, but
yeah.
So when we go ahead and we approach a leasing company and give them our needs, we categorize each piece of equipment or a vehicle depending on how long we want to finance it. So like the police cruisers, we go 3 years. Most of the vehicles are 5 to 7. Fire apparatus, we go out at probably 10. Not necessarily ambulances, that would be like 7. But whatever we decide during that year, it's not encumbered. We end up basically issuing a PO and we start paying on it before we even receive it, especially the way the lead times are these days. So, a piece of fire apparatus, we have one out there that's been out there for about 7 years now and still paying on it. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if it does.
So I think it does. So that in essence, we're buying that lease now. We're paying on that lease before we even get the vehicle.
The first payment, so whatever we take out in FY27, first payment will be in FY28. And then that's when it starts.
Yeah. And we might not even physically have possession of the vehicle when we're paying on the lease.
That's correct. So it's getting so expensive with these vehicles and the lead times is incredible. We do have to try to figure out some different type of financing, I think.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if, I remember when we switched to the leasing system from basically directly purchasing the vehicles, which was probably 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think that was about right, yes.
So that when we, again, because the fire trucks are the ones, and sometimes with the dump trucks and stuff like that, because we may encumber the money now, but we may not actually physically receive the vehicle for 3 to 4 years from now.
Correct.
If we weren't leasing them and we were doing the direct purchase of them, would we be banking that money that we encumber now for the purchase out of this budget and generating interest on it? You see where I might, yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, the way with the leasing company, they take our once the lease is closed.
I'm talking about if we don't do a lease.
Right.
So let's say if we were to purchase that $1.3 million fire truck, which we would receive in 2031.
Right.
We encumber that funds in this in this budget, so that would be that $1.3 million in 2027, correct?
Right, and that money would carry on to the next year as an encumbrance.
Right.
It'll keep going until we actually pay for it.
Right. Does that encumbrance generate any interest as of revenue?
It would generate interest because you haven't spent the cash.
Yeah.
You haven't written a check yet for it. You still have the cash. It's just spoken for. But they still it's still going to be earning interest for you.
All
Does that
right.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I'm wondering if it makes sense to, where the lead time is so great, if it still makes sense to do the lease purchasing versus banking, banking the money now.
So with the lease, once we close on the lease, they take the whole lease and they
Right.
put it into an escrow account, and it collects interest until we draw on it
Okay.
when the vehicles are delivered. So it could be sitting out there for years as an open escrow account,
Yeah.
basically.
All right.
Okay. Thanks. Good.
Any other questions? All right.
Seeing no further questions, Madam Chair, I would like to move the bottom line for the capital account in the amount of $4,092,207.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Counselor Mills?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Yes.
Counselor Flood?
Yes.
Counselor Foote?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Fowler, anything
All right.
else this evening?
Yeah, so in closing, so we've mapped out the two budget workshops tonight and on last Thursday, so appreciate all the staff's help on that. Now, I have a handful of questions more from the first session, which I will bring back to the council, and I can do that on the 21st. So we have something on our agenda where if anybody has any questions or any concerns before we go to the public hearing, that'll be an opportunity to do so. But I will also provide for the 21st the answers to some of the questions. We had some questions about how vehicles are inspected. There was a question tonight about what the balance between online registrations versus that. So they're relatively minor questions, and most of them the department heads have already answered for me. So I'll provide that on the 21st. We'll march into the public hearing for both the CIP and FY27 budget on the 23rd, and then we're lined up for an official vote on May 5th. So I think we're all in good shape. The only other loose end is water and sewer rates. Those are going to go on the consent agenda. Those are going to be on the April 21st consent agenda. You'll vote on both of those rate increases on May 5th as well. Okay, so I think we've got everything stitched up. If there are any other questions, please let me know. I'll try to have those available for the 21st. And for the public, all this information that we've talked about is on the town's website and can be extracted anyway, if you wanted to look at individual budgets. And if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to the town administrator's office.
Thank you. Anything else? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.